I want to talk about the King's speech, not the film, but King Charles, of course, visited the House of Lords on the 6th of November. And it really caught my eye because there's several bills that he mentioned in there that are going to have impacts for landlords. Now, this isn't going to be a political commentary from me, nor even what's the impact on landlords, but let's put it in context of if those landlords wanting mortgages, should these reform bills come to fruition? That's what I want to focus on. So let's get on with it. Now, there's two reform bills that King Charles mentioned. One was renters and the other was leasehold. So renters reform bill. We know that Section 21 is likely to be removed. We thought it was actually going to go through now, but it's been delayed. So it will come in my opinion. It's only a matter of time before no-fault evictions do get removed. However, what I was thinking is, well, what's the implications right now for landlords that are using Section 21 to remove a tenant? Because although there's a number of reasons why you want to get your tenant out of your property, overwhelmingly, the main reason is that they're not paying the rent. Now, what if at the point you've served notice, or you're about to serve notice, but essentially your tenant isn't paying up the rent, you want to refinance that property? You might think, and probably rightly so, that'd be a real struggle for a bank or a lender to approve that application. And you'd be right. Lenders will be looking at your bank statements and they'll want to see proof that the rent's coming in because it's the rent that's going to service the mortgage. And therefore, if the rent stops, then you can understand underwriters getting a little nervous. But there may well be some exceptions here. I can't overpromise things. So if you're listening to this right now and you're thinking, wow, that's me, I would love to refinance the property. Maybe you're on standard variable rate and you're desperate just to reduce that interest rate. Maybe you want to release some equity and you're thinking, well, surely I can't do that until I've had my tenant removed, which, as we all know, takes months. And indeed then got a new tenant in. There might be some exceptions to the rule where we can speak to lenders who don't ask for confirmation of rent coming in, and therefore we might be able to get an application approved. So don't be too disarmed. So if at the end of this piece you want to talk to us in more detail about your case, then follow the link through, cut and paste it, and speak to the team, and let's see if we can give you some good advice on that one. The second bill is the leasehold reform bill. And there's a couple of elements to this that might have implications for getting mortgages. The first one is the lease. Now, they're talking in this bill about when you extend your lease, it gets extended not by 90 years, but by 990 years. And I think that's great news. Clearly, it gives stability for generations and generations to come. However, that has also been delayed. That's gone back out to consultation again. So who knows what the end result will be. So right now, if you've got a leasehold property, or you're thinking of buying a leasehold property, they want to be looking at, well, what's the lease term right now? And if that's dropped below, I'm going to say between 70 and 80 years, that's the zone where there's going to be an issue. That's where lenders are starting to quibble and take a view on whether they want to accept an application for a leasehold property when the lease term has dropped into that sort of level. Anything below 70 years, really, the first thing you got to do is get that lease extended before you can refinance or purchase a property. In addition to that, there's a focus on ground rent. And I find this really fascinating in that this year, this has really raised its head. I've had several examples in the last few months where a lender has declined a case for a leasehold refinance because they checked the details of the lease in respect of ground rent that either allows the freeholder to increase the ground rent by a certain margin, a margin that a lender finds unacceptable, or the freeholder has already put the ground rent up to what a lender perceives as unacceptable. Now, what's unacceptable? Well, in examples that we had, we're talking about really modest figures. The figure had gone from £250 a year to £500 a year ground rent. Now, you might not even blink at that. Okay, it's an extra 250 quid. But in the big scheme of things, you think, okay, well, that's still, acceptable. Well, we're finding lenders who are saying otherwise and actually declining the case. So if you're thinking of buying, check the details of the lease, in particular when it comes to ground rent and what the freeholder is allowed to do. Because clearly it's a national issue if it's now being brought into the bill. Again, it's been discussed. So we're not sure whether it's going to go into statute or not. But the fact that it's even been put onto the bill in the first place tells me that it's a growing bigger issue on a national scale. So really be mindful of that. The last thing is about the ability to buy the freehold. And it's never been an issue from a lender perspective. But the point I want to raise is that if you are already the leaseholder and you think that you want to buy the freehold out, that from a legal point of view, you need to be buying the freehold in a different name. So let's say you own the flat in your sole name, you can buy the freehold in a joint name or a limited company name, and lenders will find that acceptable. What you can't do is have the freehold in the same name as the leasehold. So just a tip there, if that's something you're considering at buying the freehold, it's something you'll need to think about. And again, if you want to speak to the broker team about anything I've covered on this segment, there'll be a link at the end of this piece. Speak to the team about it, get the detail, get some clarity, get the specific advice so you can make the right decisions for you guys going forward.